So once you start talking to these new people, have some new conversations, right? Not just the same old, same old. I'll invite you to figure out what kind of conversation you're having, right? And we call this the TRO, this communication flow: transactions, relationships, and opportunities. That's how we segment the kinds of conversations. Oh, and if you flip over that colorful handout that you have, this is on the back, so it can be helpful to bring this home. But what I hear usually is people say, I talk to my team all the time. I talk to my spouse. I talk to my kids. Nothing changes, right? So I invite you to figure out what kind of conversation you're having, because maybe you're stuck in that transactional, right? Doing what you said you'd do in the time you do it. And these conversations usually start off with, did you? Why didn't you? And when are you going to? And those are necessary conversations. But you gotta know that those are transactions, right? It sounds a little bit like nagging sometimes. And sometimes it sounds like management. But I encourage you, like, have you ever been on date night with your spouse and you're having a wonderful time, and then someone pops one of these, transactional kind of questions? Did you call about getting the kids into camp? Did you pay the mortgage? When are you gonna pick up the dry cleaning? Right? You're laughing because it's true. Right? That's not date night conversation. That's not building your relationship. Taking your team out to lunch, that's not the kind of conversations you want to be encouraging. How do we shift from the transactions, the logistics of life, all the to-dos, into the building the relationships, getting to know one another, getting to ask more interesting questions of one another, building that trust so that we know what the person dreams of and aspires to work on. And these usually start with, how are you? Can you tell me about? We have one client that keeps this handout by his phone, and he tracks where the conversation is going because it's so easy to get pulled up into that transactional area. So when you're at your next networking meeting or company function, see if you can shift out of the transactions and into some new conversations. See what happens. And then the other thing is to ask the question and then stop talking. Listen. See what shows up. And if you get a chance to have a meeting with a mentor or an advisor, read the books they recommend. If you talk to someone in the hall and you promise to send them some information, make sure you send it. Keep your word. Build that trust. That's what builds relationships, not just seeing them over and over, but it's that follow-up, and it's that trust of doing what you said you'd do in the time you'd do it. Whenever I meet with Frances, she always has books because she's a reader, because writers are readers. That's one thing that I've learned. So she recommends a book. She usually says, I have someone I'd like you to meet with, so she'll arrange that for us. And then about a month later, it usually takes me that long to get through the to-do list and recommendations that she's given me. And I send her a report. I send her an update of I read this book and here's what I'm applying, and I have a couple questions about this. Here's the person you recommended that I meet with. We had a great time, thank you so much, and here's what we discussed, and here's what we're gonna do moving forward. We're gonna write an article, we're gonna write a blog post, whatever that is, because I want her to know that her time invested in me is worthwhile. It wasn't just a good time was had by all, but there's a plan in place and I move it forward. And that's what I love, is all those great conversations and that building of relationships. That's where the opportunities come from. That's where the next job offer comes from. That's, what amazing thing we could do? And you're the perfect person. I've been thinking about you, and you're the right one for this job. That's where those opportunities come from. This is my version of a great business meeting. Hanging out with great people in a fun place, talking about what we love. You know what we could do? You know what we could build together? Wouldn't that be amazing? And then what happens, once you make it all the way around that triangle, from transactions to relationships to opportunities, what happens? You get more to-dos, right? Once you say yes, now there's a whole bunch of new stuff to do. And that's a good thing. That's momentum. Nobody wants to join a stagnant group. where nothing changes, nothing happens. People want to be involved. They're willing to do more work. They're willing to step up and learn new things and try things out when they see things happening. So you're the one that could be making that momentum. So next in that third section, what opportunity discussion would you like to be having? And I call it opportunity. You may have other terms for it. What's your goal? What would you like to be working on? What's a side project? What's a family visit, family experience you'd like to have? Summer's coming. How do you take advantage of that? What do you wish you had more time, and if you could do anything, that's what you'd put all your resources towards? Give people just another moment. I see some writers. It's great. This could be a whole book, this section right here. Journal on it more. And I'm asking you to do this work now because you're in it. You're in the energy. I know for me, a lot of times I used to say, oh, I'll get to that later when I have time. And it doesn't happen. We get asked to do the next thing and the next thing. So I'm asking yourself to leave little clues so that you remember what this feeling is like while you're here at this conference. And the third piece, these get momentum questions. What do I want to be known for? And this can be a little scary. It scared me in the beginning because it sounds a little bit like that legacy question. Why are you on the planet? What is your purpose? That's hard. Those are big. So what we do, let's try and chunk it down a little bit. That's what you all do, right? You make small pieces out of big projects. What you want to be known for in a role, specific role, in a time frame, right? So what do I want to be known for as a team manager in Q3? What do I want to be known for as a wife this summer? I'm the fund director. I'm in charge of trips and planning and all that good stuff. And I know what that means to me. I know when I've done this well, I know what that looks like. But I need to start thinking about it ahead of time. Second question is, whom can I learn from? Who's influencing you? And are you choosing it? Or are you letting it happen? I encourage you, be intentional. Be intentional with who you let influence you. And the third one is, what one change can I make to keep moving forward? When we talked about self-care, I hear people say, oh, I'm going to lose weight, exercise, I'm going to get up early, learn a new language. You know, all those New Year's resolutions, all those really good ideas. If I asked you how your New Year's resolutions are going right now, what would you say? Would you remember them? I wouldn't. I wouldn't even remember what I had promised myself on January 1st, what I was going to do this year. Because it's too much all at once. I'm into little, small, incremental changes that I can sustain. Because if I can sustain it, then I can add to it. And then it's just a routine that I naturally do. So now in that fourth section, write down what question you'd like to work on. And again, for the next 5 days. So here are the questions. What do you want to be known for? A specific role and time frame. Whom can I learn from? And what one change can I make to keep moving forward? I love watching you all write. It's very exciting. Because I can see the wheels turning. And finally, work on stuff that isn't due for a while. I'm a little intimidated talking about this to this audience. I'll tell you that straight up, because you are the masters. You have certificates and degrees that I've never even heard of. But can we do this for ourselves, right? That's advanced leadership. Can we do that for ourselves as well? Not just the project and the work goals, but personally. We have something Jason and I came up with called the 30-30 rule. And very simply, it's, can you work on something 30 minutes a day that's not due for 30 days or more? And it's as simple as getting out your calendar and thinking, what will I wish I had worked on sooner? Things on our calendar should not surprise us. And there's something about having all of that come towards us, that overwhelm of not knowing what we've already agreed to, and then something in the world happens that knocks us off course, some new emergency, some new opportunity, but we're already so busy and putting out these fires and running on the hamster wheel or whatever cliche you go with. We're in that constant motion of overwhelm, and if we haven't reviewed what's already coming towards us, it can be really hard, right? So what could you work on tomorrow that isn't due for 30 days or more? Think about what's coming up with summer. Do you have any trips? Do you have any new books? I always encourage people to start with their personal lives if they haven't done this for themselves, because sometimes we forget our professional skills when we apply it to our personal lives. So look out. Does your spouse always complain that you don't tell them that you had a trip, that you were going to be late? Sit laughing. I love that, because then I know I nailed one. So when that happens, reverse engineer it. Work backwards. What will they wish they had known what's coming on your calendar? And how do you support them knowing so that everybody's working together? I have a bonus for all you overachievers, extra certificate earners. You know who you are. Get out your phone. When was the last time you heard that at a conference from a keynote, right? Get out your phone and take a picture of that sheet, that handout, those breadcrumbs you left yourself that tell you when you're at your best. And if you know how, make it your wallpaper, the background image of your screen. Research says we look at our cell phones 150 to 180 times a day. What if this is what was influencing you and getting you to make one more better choice a day? The things that you determined would give you momentum. Use your own influence. And if you don't know how to make it your wallpaper, there is a techie somewhere near you who can definitely help. So what did we talk about this morning? Taking care of yourself, that's self-care. That's advanced leadership right there. Can you give yourself the sustained energy that you're going to need to do all those things that you know you have capacity for? Taking initiative and being super selective about who you let influence you. You may not be able to choose everybody on your team, your boss, or people in your family, extended family, right? But you do get to choose who you spend time with, your extra time. Have new conversations. Can you do the T's, the transactions? Can you make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to do? Yes, that is part of our jobs. That's what makes us so good. And then can we elevate the conversation? Can we graduate? Can we get to know these people at a deeper level so we know what they really have to contribute and what we can be doing to mentor them? Ask questions, right? I've given you a couple, but you have good ones too. You have questions that you know will lead to new conversations. And finally, work on stuff that isn't due for a while. That 30-30 rule. Don't be surprised by what's on your calendar. Work on it. You may be able to delegate. You may be able to move it up or back. You may be able to delete it. Wouldn't that be amazing? I love when stuff gets canceled. Woohoo! Wasn't meant to be. I got plenty to fill that spot. So with that, I'd like to say thank you so much for your time and attention, and I wish you all the best in getting momentum. Thanks.